Hello, everybody. Where is the music coming from? Did I? Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Oh, I didn't shut down the music. Good. I thought I'm a bit cuckoo and there's music in my ears. But thank you for joining me. I skipped yesterday, Friday, so I'm live here today. Yes. Actually, I didn't skip it. I had a whole thing with YouTube. I tried to reboot it, and hopefully, you see me, and hopefully, this video will then stay and be widely available to everybody who's at least subscribed. Which leads me to this. Please like this. Please subscribe to the channel so you will be reminded and on any video that I post, and also when I go live and when we post this curated culture series, which is also related to what I did yesterday. Last night, I attended an event at the Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz Center in New York, which is a very significant place, historically speaking. So tomorrow's Curating Culture series will be about the center, and then stay tuned for the second part, which I will reveal once I'm permitted to do so. So it will be very interesting, and I learned a lot, and it was very short but very informative yesterday as to what I recorded and what I will present to you tomorrow. So this, again, it's all on this channel, so it will be posted there. All right. So again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're having a peaceful weekend. This is not ordinary Saturday. I'm not going live. This is for yesterday. So it is also not driven by any like super duper breaking news. Yes, we will be covering national and global news. We will be talking about new drones over Poland and Romania. Did Romania shut down that drone with F-16 or not? We're going to dive into that today. Also, recap everything that's happened since Thursday, since I was live. Okay? Let's say hi to the good folks here. Hi, Jeff. Hello. Good day. Hi, Martha. Yes, from South California. Hello. Annalea, thank you for sharing the stream. Hi, Michael. Hello. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your patience. All of it. Okay? So, let's talk about some headlines. Perhaps you missed some, perhaps you hear it for the second time or multiple times. That's okay. Yeah, I'll cruise through it fast. So, I want to talk about HBCUs first because uh, since the assassination of Charlie Kirk that occurred a couple of days ago, it had reprehensions. And I did post, I don't want to dive into it. And listen, I'm a person of empathy and decency. That's what I offer. I said it multiple times. But the whole narrative is pushing towards an aggression towards Democrats, or the left, as they call it. And although there is no direct connection to it, on the contrary, the connection, because of the shooter who has been caught, but actually he has been presented by his family, so to speak, to police and FBI. He's more connected to MAGA, and his whole family is MAGA. That's what his father said and his grandmother said. Altogether, there is no link to the left or Democrats, nor there is no proven connection or motivation. From my perspective, and correct me if I'm wrong, what I see is more an internal within MAGA community. Different clans, so to speak, are fighting each other, and it causes results. But again, this is my angle, this is my perspective. I don't want to dive into it. But what I want to dive in is the circumstances right now that we find ourselves in and the consequences of such. Like, for instance, I attended an event, and even though big democratic city, the first announcement was, let's not record each other in any shape or form, because in this political spectrum, if something is posted and somebody's recognized, it could have negative consequences, which really slapped me in the face like a wet towel. I thought, wow, we're here. 2025, United States, big democratic city, and yet here we are. And we're meeting in a cultural center to listen to music, to watch your short film. We're not doing anything extracurricular. But so weren't also the kids that were praying and who got slaughtered and shot too. So you don't really have to do something to face aggression. And what I would love to encourage everyone, there are a lot of news. There's so much clickbait today about the shooter, who he lived with, and then it's debunked. I don't even want to mention it. What I want to mention is read more than a headline. If you're interested in a headline, if it's provoking in some type of way, click on it, read the text. Because usually the headline does not align with the content of, a news article. Because it's designed to provoke you and to make you feel enthused to click and read. But then really click and read. Don't share without reading the article. That's number one. And second, if you are feeling that something is here to provoke an aggression within you, try not to take the bait, because that could be also the intention behind it. Try not to be playing a part that you never auditioned for. Okay? And I think if you're smart, you will read between the lines, you'll understand what I mean. Okay? So, I do have a comment. Hi, Katie. Hello. Thank you for being here. Okay, so now let's talk about HBCUs. So, multiple historically Black colleges and universities across the South were forced to lock down or cancel classes on Thursday and Friday following a series of potential threats. Like, for instance, Hampton University, Virginia State University, and Alabama State University were among those that issued emergency alerts. In Atlanta, Spelman and Morehouse briefly ordered students to shelter in place after nearby Clark Atlanta University received a threat. The incidents unfolded just a day after conservative commentator Charlie Kirk was killed in a campus shooting in Utah, and as schools nationwide continued to grapple with the surge in active shooter hoaxes. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries condemned the threats as despicable and called on the Justice Department to investigate them as acts of domestic terrorism. Meanwhile, we know where the Trump administration stands. They rather see the left, not just see, they openly stated repeatedly that we are dealing with the left and we're dealing with radical left, and all of this is against the left. Now, what I want to underline here, there is no direct connection to the left. And believe me, the left or Democrats, whatever, liberals, whatever you want to call us, people usually who align with this party are first to blame themselves, are first to show empathy. So I don't really see, even when we talk about Epstein files, I don't see Democrats defending, if we see, let's say, former President Clinton appearing in something. I don't see anybody starting to smooth it around and defend him. And it's not about Clinton or the Epstein files. It's just about the approach to it. I don't see Democrats protecting their own, to their own demise and hurt, right? Because MAGA does it. So there's more of a team spirit. But altogether, read the headlines, read the articles, and then share it only when you read it and you know the intention behind you sharing it. Clicks, likes, comments are not worth it. Really not worth it. When you hear some provocative stupidity, don't share it. Okay? Because you play a role that you never auditioned for. Now, let's talk about inflation. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, yes, they're reporting negative news. I wonder how the actuality looks like. Because if they report something negative, how it is actually in reality, because we do know that they're now producing some news that are, to be taken with the, with understanding that they can be manipulated. Let's call a thing a thing. Okay, so the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported on Friday that the Consumer Price Index, CPI, rose 0.4% from July to August, with travel and food costs pushing to increase. or pushing the increase. Airfare spiked 5.9%, car repairs climbed 2.4%, while dairy and bakery products barely budged at 0.1%. For meat lovers and coffee drinkers, I'm a coffee drinker, so, the news are pretty grim. So, roasted coffee jumped 21.7%, uncooked beef steak 16.6%, eggs 10.9%, and bacon 7.2%. Some relief came from hospital services and car insurance, which remained flat, while shelter prices showed signs of cooling. Now, the major retailers, including Walmart, Best Buy, and Target, openly acknowledged that the tariffs are forcing them to hike prices. According to CNBC, the sharpest increases are hitting household furnishings, appliances, recreational goods, and apparel. And if we think about end of the year and the holiday season, and Black Friday and Cyber Monday and all that, this is exactly those categories that will be heavily affected. So if you're planning to gift each other gifts, I think buy it now. That's just a suggestion. So now, normally, rising inflation would prompt the Federal Reserve to hold or raise interest rates to slow the economy. But with labor market showing cracks, the decision isn't simple. So they did adjust the jobless claims, and initial jobless claims just hit their highest level in nearly 4 years. The BLS also now revised down job creation by 911,000 fewer jobs than initially reported for the year ending March 2025. Now, as to Trump, he said, look, I will blame Biden. This is not my economy because this is just the last quarter. But if we check calendar, September 13 today, and Trump came into power on January 20th, I think we have a couple of quarters there. So that's a very interesting statement. But this is not the only one. We have a lot of interesting statements. Speaking of Trump. So he commented, I went live on Thursday. This is supposed to be Friday, so let's start there. He commented on the drones over Poland. Now, Exhibit 1, because today we had already Exhibit 2. So Exhibit 1, let's call it this way. Before leaving to New York on Thursday, because he flew to New York to attend Yankees game, and then on Friday, he stayed in New York and was on Fox and Friends at 8 a.m. on Friday in New York. He's still in New York. He's, going from New Jersey to New York. He's flying back to the White House tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern if you're interested. Now, he was asked about the drone strikes, right? And the drones over Poland. He said, quote, I hear that what happened, they were taken down. They went a little berserk. Regardless, I would condemn even for being near the line. I don't like it. I'm not happy about it. That whole thing, I'm not happy about. And because, I'm trying to prove my point, here's the video of him saying
You condemn Russia flying drones in Poland?
Well, I hear that what happened, as you know, where they were taken down and they went a little berserk. But regardless, yes, I would condemn even for being near that line. I don't like it. I'm not happy about it. That whole thing, I'm not happy about. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's the phrase I was looking for, Mike. Thank you. Taking with a grain of salt. Ignacio, yes, went to market today. They're messing with my coffee and bacon. Right. That's exactly what statistics show. So that's right. Okay. You proved it. Okay. So he doesn't like it. But he's not naming Putin as somebody who sent those goddamn drones. Later, he appeared on Fox and Friends where he said, quote, I'm not going to defend anybody, but they were actually knocked down and they fell. But he shouldn't be close to Poland anyway. Now referring to Putin. Again, yes, they were knocked down with missiles. The missiles that cost $2.8 million, they're knocking down drones that cost $10,000. So its ratio is $280 to 1. So it's nowhere near being efficient, nowhere near being interesting or a success that NATO claimed it as such. Now, back to Trump. About his mood. So he was asked about Charlie Kirk and how he is processing this negative news. He was allegedly very close to him, saw him as a son and whatnot. This is what Trump says.
How are you holding up over the last 3.5 days? I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty. It'll be an absolutely magnificent structure.
So how are you holding up? I think I'm good. Very good. By the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House. Then he travels to New York, where he attends the Yankees game, where he's seen dancing to YMCA. After the game, he also visits the Yankees and shakes hands.
You're going to win. I'll tell you what, George Steinbrenner was a great friend of mine, the whole family. It's a great family, and Randy is wonderful, and I will say you're going to win. George used to coach for some reason.
Before the game, after the game, doesn't matter. But he is processing the news. Then Friday morning, he's on Fox and Friends, where during the interview and this in-studio appearance, Trump was asked what he would do to help the country fix itself and come together. Here's what he says.
And we're going to look into that.
What do we do about our country with that? Because we have radicals on the right as well. We have radicals on the left. People are watching all of these videos and cheering. Some people are cheering that Charlie was killed. How do we fix this country? How do we come back together?
I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime.
Let's focus on I couldn't care less. Okay. So then he started commenting on the drones and what I read out loud, that he doesn't like the idea, but he doesn't really condemn Putin, nor names him by name as the aggressor, as somebody who did send those drones to Poland. So, to which then Poland's Prime Minister, Donald Tusk, has issued a reply on Twitter shitter. He says, "We would also wish that the drone attack on Poland was a mistake, but it wasn't, and we know it." Now, today, I'm jumping ahead, but today on Saturday, their Minister of Foreign Affairs, Radoslav Sikorski, put out a statement saying, okay, Russia says we never send a drone and our drones are not capable to fly this far. Meanwhile, United States president says that this was a mistake. So which lie shall we believe? And they're already stating it up front because you know what? That's exactly what I said on Thursday. We can talk about what's fair, what's legal, what's humane, what's not humane, all that. But when the drones start flying over your own head and the head of your loved ones, the heads of your loved ones, your perspective changes real quick and real proper. So, NATO responded by creating an Eastern Sentry, as they call it. This was announced by Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO. Take a look what he had to say.
And today, General Kinkowicz and I are here to announce that NATO is launching Eastern Sentry to bolster our posture even further along our eastern flank. This military activity will commence in the coming days and will involve a range of assets from allies including Denmark, France, United Kingdom, Germany and others. In addition to more traditional military capabilities, this effort will also feature elements designed to address the particular challenges associated with the use of drones. Eastern Sentry will add flexibility and strength to our posture and make clear that, as a defensive alliance, we are always ready to defend.
What is your ratio of expense? $280 to 1? What are you defending? You are spending and overspending. But their reactions, obviously. Maria Zakharova, which is the foreign ministry spokesperson in Russia, said, quote, "Nobody wants to send their soldiers as part of NATO invasion of Ukraine. That's because they understand what will be done to them. No, you have meat grinder for your people. Always, when you listen to the White House now, when you listen to Kremlin specifically, when you listen to Beijing too, flip it 180, then everything is cool. Okay, so if they say no, it's a yes. If they say yes, it's a no. Got it? Good. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, War, you decide. He was commenting on the drones over Poland, where he shifted that this shouldn't be our priority to even defend Poland. Take a look.
Power. We've projected power for a long time in far-flung places that had a nebulous connection to our own security in the homeland. We're securing the homeland.
To repeat, we projected power for a long time in far-flung places that had nebulous connection to our own security in the homeland. We are securing the homeland. This is a big message, not just for Ukraine and Poland. Well, maybe for Novrotsky, because he had hopes and dreams, but Soros' prayers. This is a big message to Taiwan. Because remember, there was this narrative that we are leaving Eastern Europe because we're focusing on China. And now, homeland. So this is a message to Taiwan that, guys, check with Ukraine and Poland, because if this happens to you, you're on your own. Now, people in Moscow were asked, what do they think about drones over Poland? Right in the middle of Moscow. That's what they say. Quote, they are attacking Russia. They came up with something like in Bucha. When they saw dead people in the streets of Bucha killed by Russians, they were believing that this is a movie. And those things were all like fake people, dolls, fake blood, all of that. That's what they were told. That's what they pretend to believe. They call it fantasies. They say it's hatred. As mother of an SVO participant, I will tell you, this is what needs to be. I don't care what Poland thinks. Another says, we don't know how to attack. We don't even know how to attack, right? Meaning Russia. We're not attacking Poland. We don't even know how to do it. Okay. Why do we need it? Says another one. This was the most woke person there. Now, today, and I want to hold on here before we talk about all the diplomats and royals even traveling to Kiev over the weekend. Today, just about a couple of hours ago, there were another set of drones. As for now, I don't want to share, numbers because all of that is, being processed as we speak. So I don't want to put any lies out here. But what do we really know is that there were sirens over eastern Poland, 250 kilometers from the border of Ukraine. The drones were flying again in Poland. People were informed by their ministry to shelter in place, to listen to advisory, and not to go outside, to go into shelters if they're able to, and all that. Then the drones were over Romania today. And there are conflicting messages. So first, this was CNN Antenna 3. They said that F-16, which is true, is that Romania scrambled and put up their air force to protect their skies. CNN Antenna 3 first said that F-16 shot the drone. Then there's information that they didn't shoot the drone. When we have clarity, I will certainly share it. But what stands is that this is already Exhibit 2 and Exhibit 3, because now Romania is also involved. And this is an important development. Mind you, this followed right after Trump tweeted this. Today, he says, this is a letter that he allegedly sent to all NATO nations and the world. I'm sure this was just a tweet. But anyway, he says, I'm ready to do major sanctions on Russia when all NATO nations have agreed and started to do the same thing, and when all NATO nations stop buying oil from Russia. As you know, NATO's commitment to win has been far less than 100%. What are they winning? And the purchase of Russian oil by some has been shocking. it greatly weakens our negotiating position, bargaining power over Russia. Anyway, I'm ready to go when you are. Just say when. I believe that this plus NATO as a group placing 50 and 100%, 50 to 100% tariffs on China to be fully withdrawn after the war with Russia and Ukraine is ended, will also be of great help in ending his deadly but ridiculous war. China has a strong control and even grip over Russia, and these powerful tariffs will break that grip. This is not Trump's war. It would never have started if I was president. It is Biden and Zelensky's war. I'm only here to help stop it. And then he cite some ridiculous numbers of dead people in the week, 7,118. Then he says, if NATO does as I say, the war will end quickly and all of those lives will be saved. If not, you are just wasting my time and the time, energy, and money of the United States. Thank you for your attention to this matter, blah, blah, blah. Now, few takeaways. First, this is Putin's war. Putin attacked Ukraine. This is not Biden's war. This is not even Zelensky's war. Putin invaded Ukraine. Period. End of story. Second, let's point out obvious things. Tariffs. If European Union or NATO allies put 100% tariffs on Chinese products, they fully know and are aware of it that their economy will be hurt, same as our goddamn economy is hurt, just month in. We're not even a year in or half a year in. We're already suffering and our GDP is suffering. So imposing tariffs on Chinese products would just impact the economy of European Union and NATO allies and prohibit what? Prohibit them to spend the 5% GDP that they promised to spend on their military defense as part of NATO allies, what Trump pushed them to do. If European and NATO allies' economy is hurting, they cannot buy from United States. That's one. I'm not sure if Trump understands it or he understands it and manipulates it, some type of in reverse. I don't know what it is, but that's what he says. Second, if you want Europe to stop buying oil from Russia, maybe start with Hungary and Orban and Fico and Slovakia, because your best friends are buying from Russia directly. Putting tariffs on China or India or whatever, those are secondary measures. Why don't you talk to your best friends? Because you're so, cozy with each other. That's another point. Then, of course, one thing that kind of is not really mentioned elsewhere, but I want to point it out, where he says, as you know, NATO's commitment to win has been far less than 100%. This is the narrative that is pushed by Kremlin, where they say that NATO invaded them, completely disregarding the fact that because Putin invaded Ukraine, Finland and Sweden had no choice but to join NATO. In fact, they were opposing this for decades. And then they joined because Putin invaded Ukraine and they had to become part of a bigger alliance to protect them. But this narrative that stop buying oil, okay, stop doing this and this and this, I'm ready when you are, fully being aware that, as I reported, and many also did, European Union said that they will cease buying anything from Russia. It's not just oil. It also has to do with farmers and all that stuff. So they will cease buying anything from Russia by 2027. So this statement here is an excuse not to impose any sanctions on Russia until 2027. What it also does, it places in Trump's view, from his angle, he is placing the responsibility to end the war that he said he will do in 24 hours with one call, then he's going to do it in 2 weeks and 3 months, and here we are. He's placing responsibility to NATO members, not just EU, NATO members. Like, you guys, we're not focused to win, but if you want to win, you're going to do this. So this is the catch-22 here, because he knows they're not going to cease operations till 2027, so that means no sanctions. Also, if NATO will reply like, okay, well, that's a great idea, let's do it, then with their actions or words, they would be confirming that NATO wants to win. Meanwhile, NATO is a defense alliance. It's not an invader to begin with. But that narrative is then, after this tweet, was a precursor for those drones over Poland and Romania. Here's spokesperson of Kremlin, right? Peskov said, on the emotional overreaction around Zapad 2025, West 2025 exercises. Remember, they do it at the border of Poland. Belarus and Russia are exercising how to cut off Baltic states from NATO, essentially. I reported on this on Thursday in full details. If you haven't seen it, go back, watch it. So he says, I would like to recall the words of our president, Putin. Russia has never threatened anyone, nor does it threaten the countries of Europe. It was not Russia that moved its military infrastructure toward Europe, but Europe that moved toward us, which again goes straight ahead to this tweet where it says, as you know, NATO's commitment to win has been far less than 100%, and the purchase of Russian oil by some has been shocking, blah, blah, blah. It greatly weakens us. I'm just trying to connect the dots. This statement that Trump wrote could have been written by Kremlin. It's very aligned with them. So when I see some big outlets and, folks with large followings saying Trump is ready to impose sanctions, but there is a catch. No, he's not ready. He's telling you he ain't gonna do it, and you're now to blame for it. And this is Zelensky's war. These are the same people who blame the victim for being raped because she wore something, because he did whatever, or they. This is the same rhetoric. But then, as to diplomatic presence, Alexander Stubb, president of Finland, was in Kiev, one of many diplomatic diplomats who visited Kiev in the past few days. He said, I have completed a 2-day visit to Ukraine. During the trip, I held discussions on peace process and cooperation between Finland and Ukraine. Ukrainians are resilient people. They have been fighting for their independence for 3 years now. We will continue to work alongside Ukraine. Slava Ukraini. Okay, so far so good. Then Zelensky was joking about Keith Kellogg, Trump's envoy, whose daughter and granddaughter, I think, also live in Kiev. Granddaughter does. I'm not sure about the family constellation. But Zelensky was joking there. Every time Keith Kellogg is in Kiev, Kiev residents can get some sleep. I would like you to travel all over the country. This remark reflects a pattern. Kiev often remains quiet during Kellogg's visits. And this is also, take it from both sides. Yeah, Russia is respecting United States, because when Kellogg is there, why bomb Kiev? Because God forbid you're going to hurt Kellogg. But how does Russia know every time Kellogg is there? Because most of times he's visiting family. I'll let you connect those dots. Prince Harry was there too. He arrived in Kiev alongside the Invictus Games Foundation team, pledging new initiatives to support the rehabilitation of Ukraine's wounded soldiers. He emphasized his personal commitment to providing aid across all regions of the country. And here's a video of him arriving using the Ukrainian Ukrzaliznytsis, the Ukrainian train. There.
Super Royal Express.
It was a present from the United States. Let's go.
Have a great day.
he was gifted a lot of things, Ukrainian designers, Ukrainian chef, everybody, like the chef was giving something for Meghan. The designers were giving clothes for Meghan. So he was coming back to United States with a lot of gifts. Now, he also visited the memorial. And this picture really, struck me, for the lack of a better word. He also exited there and said that he was so touched, and that every single frame and pictures are done with so much love. He also praised Ukrainian women. He said that what he sees is that when soldiers return from the front lines and they're hurt and they're wounded, that Ukrainian women are keeping them intact, meaning they don't allow them to, go off and seek refuge and, taking some things they shouldn't be taking and whatnot. So essentially praising Ukrainian women and Ukrainian families, which is a wonderful thing to do. Now, also Foreign Minister of Poland, Sikorsky, was in Kiev as well, where after he met with Zelensky wrote on Twitter saying, "We discussed the attack of Russian drones on Poland. Ukraine is ready to share its experience, assist with the training of Polish military personnel, and jointly build a defense system. We are grateful to Poland for its support from the very beginning of the war. We are close neighbors, and in times of such dangers, it is vital to stand together." Now, he added that they discussed joint defense production, Ukraine's EU membership negotiations, because Polish president was very much against it. Now this might change it. And using SAFE program, the European program, to fund production of interceptor drones. Zelensky thanked Poland for its willingness to move quickly on implementation. And here's a speech that Zelensky gave, a snippet of it. Take a look.
Penetration.
Sikorsky, not Zelensky, Sikorsky.
Penetration of Polish and NATO airspace by Russian drones is a moment of truth. Because these drones crossed into our airspace not only from Ukraine but also from Belarus. The air flight lasted 7 hours. This was not an accident. And anybody who says that this was Ukrainian provocation is either the author or a willing accomplice of Russian propaganda. We should be very careful.
So what he says, that those who blame Ukraine for the drones is either clueless or part of propaganda, and also the drones were not an accident. Now, after that, he appeared on Fox News, where the guy that looks like a Lego figure that interviewed, I always forget his name anyway, he interviewed Harris and was screaming over her. Remember? Breyer, whatever. So he was on his show, and he talked about the Russian drones over Poland. It's a bit of a longer segment, but I would like for you to watch it.
Mr. Minister, thank you for joining us.
Hello.
What exactly happened?
Over the course of 7 hours, so all night, there were 19 breaches of Poland's airspace, and we shot down several of the drones, and many more were found on the ground inside Polish territory, some several hundred kilometers inside Polish territory.
When we put up the map, you don't think this was a mistake?
It's hard to believe that, because some of them came over from Belarus and some came over from Ukraine. We've had similar breaches in the past. A cruise missile, a Russian one, landed 10 kilometers from my house in western Poland, but they came from Ukraine. This time they came from both Ukraine and Belarus.
So Article 4 of NATO says the parties will consult together whenever, in the opinion of any of them, the territorial integrity, political independence, or security of any of the parties is threatened. Is Poland activating its NATO defense with other countries?
Yes, we have. This article has been invoked in the past by Turkey, and by other countries, altogether 7 times, and it usually resulted with the strengthening of that country's defense needs. And it was last invoked when Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022.
Right, and here's what the president said about more troops in Poland, if you all want them.
Will American soldiers remain in Poland?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, do you know something I don't? I don't know. Yeah, we're very happy. If anything, we'll put more there if they want. But they've long wanted to have a larger presence.
So will you ask the U.S. for more presence of troops, etc.?
We have about 10,000 U.S. troops in Poland right now. We contribute $15,000 per annum to every American soldier, so it's actually cheaper to keep them in Poland and to exercise them in Poland than in the U.S. So I think we have a mutual interest.
You know, when the president...
I wouldn't trust it. He's smart enough to know that you shouldn't be trusting it. We have some news. President of Finland, Stubb, just gave an interview. Here's a clip. He talks about where Putin is headed. Take a look.
See Russia going? Oh, it's not looking good. You know, I'm very honest with you. With the current regime and with President Putin, I don't see big change. You know, nations that don't have a capacity to deal with their past, they have a very difficult time to look into the future.
They're lying about the past. They're stealing stuff. You know, with curating culture, I speak to so many directors of museums, and there's so much that has been just stolen from Ukraine during the war, also before that, because Russia wants to build out this idea that the Rus was the biggest thing that they owned. Meanwhile, Rus happened in Kiev, and in Moscow it was a shithole at that point. Anyway, so as a result, and as promised, Poland crossed the border with Belarus in the night of September 12th. Take a look.
Раз, два, три, четыре, пять. В половине второго ночи польские силовики, да. В половине второго ночи.
And Russians are reporting, because I understand what he says. He's like, 1:30. The Polish mercenaries have closed the borders. Those are not mercenaries. Those are soldiers. So as a result, Russia Foreign Ministry demanded that Warsaw consider the consequences of its decision. Belarus announced that its checkpoints remain open despite Poland's unilateral move. Well, the other checkpoint is closed, so good luck with that. But there is a little global fallout because the closure immediately disrupted China's cargo flows through the region. In response, Chinese foreign ministry officials flew to Poland and Belarus to negotiate solutions. Here's an idea that I have that nobody is voicing. So how about, because China sponsors Russia, either through India or whatnot. I told you about the richest guy in Asia doing all this stuff with Putin to allow him to circumvent and sort of bypass sanctions and ultimately financing his regime and the aggression. Okay, but altogether, so how about all those countries that share border with Russia just close the borders? China will send their foreign ministry officials to Moscow, and that's what will stop this whole thing. Because China is about the money, honey. Their regime is nothing about without financing it. So close the borders from the Baltics to Greece. Go, just close it. Build a wall, whatever. Talk about building the wall. China will end this thing because they're financing it. Now, as to Europe making better decisions than before, Denmark has signed a record 9.1 billion defense deal. You think with what? With Washington? No, with European-made air defense systems instead of U.S. Patriots, the Financial Times reported. Copenhagen will purchase Franco-Italian SAMPT long-range systems along with one or more medium-range systems from Norway, Germany, or France. Danish officials cited lower costs and faster delivery times as the key reasons for turning away from the American-made Patriot systems. Then remember the president of Portugal calling Trump a Russian asset and was asked why, and he said because he acts that way. We have some breaking news. Portugal picks French Rafale over America's F-35 for NATO fleet modernization. This was just published, how many minutes ago? Let me check. Oh, 3 hours ago. Sorry, but it is breaking news. Okay, so we're losing. Okay, so other big news that did happen yesterday is that vote at the UN General Assembly on recognizing the two-state solution and herewith recognizing a sovereign state of Palestine. And so UN did vote. I'll show you this thing. If you can see it, you see that there were 142 countries in favor, weirdly, including Russia, including everyone, but against were 10. And against were Argentina, Hungary, Israel, obviously, Micronesia, Nauru, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Paraguay. Those are dependent on, and Tonga, those are dependent on the US aid. So they do as told. And ultimately, United States of America. And now, what matters here the most is the vote of United States of America. Why? Because the way UN functions, United Nations General Assembly, the so-called UNGA, is presenting something for vote. They're debated for months or years even, and then they vote. And if no permanent member of Security Council of UN, which US is, if none of those object anything, then this goes to Security Council, then they vote, and ultimately it becomes something tangible. Now, because United States voted against it, they expect in Security Council a veto by United States, because if they vote against, this just strikes all the votes in favor. Okay? Weirdly, China voted in favor too, by the way, here. So China and Russia and Israel and United States is against. Now, what I can tell you, when I worked for UN and specifically Ukrainian mission, we were told to vote the Russia does. And literally on Palestinian issue, it was like, look how Russia does, we vote like that. Very different now, obviously, because the regime is not pro-Russian and we have the war. But Ukraine, of course, as you see here, voted in favor, but also did Russia, which is really surprising for me. And here's a picture of the results. So, by the way, UNGA begins next week. And on next Thursday, I'll be at the Security Council with Brazil. Long story. I'll tell you if you want to later. But anyway, I'll be there. And from very early in the morning till late night, it will be about development goals and how they can essentially bypass United States and progress with achieving the goals set for 2030. So I'll report on that. I'll take you with me. Tell me if you're interested to see UN from within, from food to whatever, if you're interested. Let me know. I love the library there. But anyway, you want to see UN from within, not just Security Council and like what they talked about. If you want to see like how translators are seated, what they do, how the coffee spot looks like and whatever. So I'm planning to, as I always do, I focus on humanity and what you might be interested in rather than just this dry messaging. So I think if you can, see something that makes it more interesting and maybe entertaining even, you probably will care more about the issues discussed. So that's my, personal way to present it. So I'll be there next Thursday. So probably there will be no live stream because they don't even allow me to take my laptop with me. So phone, they allow phone, but nothing more. So I'll record and I'll present it to you. So And also from the 18th on, I start reporting on UNGA 80. This is the UN General Assembly, but the high level week where all the heads of state will be there, presidents, prime ministers, and all that. And I will attend 27 events. I'll report on it. Also, there will be side events, different conferences, also with celebrities if you care about that. So I will be recording and depicting, all those events, putting them out here on YouTube. If I can go live, I will tell you, but it's very, very packed schedule. But every day there will be content on all those events. So I promise to take you with me and have sort of like insider view to all those fancy events. Okay, so I'm looking forward to it, although this will be exhausting. So again, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to this YouTube channel so you will be reminded. And by the way, also set reminder like to all videos. Then you will get a little ding, when something is posted, and you can decide if you want to watch it. Okay. So few things I wanted to about national news and some, crazy stuff. So first, Pentagon is hosting first ever top drone school. The Pentagon last month held its first top drone training and competition for drone pilots, testing their skills in a threat reprehensible environment, or threat representative environment. The program took place at Camp Atterbury, Indiana, as part of Defense Department's semi-annual Technology Readiness Experiment Showcase. They call it T-Rex. Now, also, if you missed, Nadine Menendez, the wife of convicted former New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez, was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison for her role in a high-profile bribery scheme. Let me check comments real quick before we move on. I want to see everything at the UN. Okay, Mike. Good. Perfect. I'll do it. All right. Perfect. I would like to see anything you want to show. Oh, Michael, thank you. Thank you so much. Good. Yeah. Thank you. Jeff probably is commenting about the planes. Thank you, guys. I will show you all of it. And if I can go live, I certainly will. I always post on Blue Sky first. Oh, also what I'm going to do, because I hear some people, I got emails that they got banned on Blue Sky. I think it's connected to Charlie Kirk and the way, whatever. I'm not touching it. But we have an app. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to, anyway, on Monday, I'm going to send you the way you can download an app and register for it. Again, there's no paywalls, but I will put all the updates and videos and everything there first and Blue Sky second. So you can have videos and updates and everything there. It also has forum for discussion, and this is just like my subscribers. And so again, if you want to do it, because only I then have access to your email, and that's all I need. So to send you the app thing, that's it. So the app is good. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I haven't posted since G7 because we put this together for G7. But also, I think for just security measures, it would be wonderful for the app, because then I can post in real time and share some news and like the gimmicks and like whatever is going on inside those events in real time. And then when I'm off the event, then I post it publicly on Blue Sky, because I just don't want to have, any problems with, fearing for my life or whatever because of what I say. Okay. So now, as to, okay, UNICEF reported that for the first time in history, children with obesity now outnumber those who are underweight worldwide, according to UNICEF report. As to school shooting in Colorado, authorities identified a student suspected of shooting two classmates on Wednesday in Colorado. Investigators said he had been radicalized by an extremist network, but provided no further details. And then another event at Naval Academy. A false shooter report at the U.S. Naval Academy spiraled into real violence. So, after a midshipman mistook a law enforcement officer for the gunman and struck him with the parade rifle, the officer opened fire, wounding the student. And see, that's my whole point. Don't take the bait. Try to, again, don't read just the headlines, read the articles, and then engage your brain that you were born with to see, what am I reading? What's the intention of this message? And because something sounds provocative, or, it's like, oh my God, that you got this reaction, read it, calm yourself down, and then think, okay, to share it, but what's your intention for sharing it? Are you spreading something, or are you informing your fellow friends online? So just please be mindful, because the backstory and the intention is to provoke something that perhaps was not really achievable through National Guard and all that. Try not to be playing the role you never auditioned for. Okay? So, FTC probes AI chatbots and child safety. So the Federal Trade Commission is investigating how AI chatbots affect children, demanding information from OpenAI, Meta, Alphabet, Snap, xAI, and others. The probe follows lawsuits against OpenAI and Character AI, alleging chatbot responsibility and child suicides. Companies have promised new safeguards, including parental controls. And if you're a parent, I think it's also your responsibility to cut that shit out. Like, please. If you ever chatted with the wonderful ChatGPT, whom I thank every single time I asked anything, because I feel like if robots turn against us, maybe I'll be knocked out first, just out of courtesy. So just, be mindful and just don't do it. I mean, you have to really be self-critical to judge your conversations with the chat things. And if somebody has any problems or psychological imbalances, that could turn into something really horrific. Now, as the Justice Department, they have filed a lawsuit against Uber, accusing the company of systematic discrimination against riders with disabilities. According to DOJ, Uber drivers have refused service to riders with service animals, and folks with wheelchairs, imposed illegal cleaning fees for service animals, charged cancellation fees when riders were denied service. And this is all good. And I mean, that they're filing this and they're mentioning the Americans with Disabilities Act as a reason for it. My point is, what's going to solve it? A donation from Uber or what? I hope they do what they really have to do. And then a big shakeup is coming to legacy media. So Paramount Skydance is reportedly preparing a majority cash bid to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery, according to Wall Street Journal. So if successful, the deal would bring together CBS, CNN, Paramount Plus, and HBO Max under one corporate roof. A big shakeup for legacy media. Warner Brothers Discovery has a $33 billion market cap, more than double Paramount's size. The bid is being backed by the family of Paramount CEO David Ellison, son of Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison, who just became the world's richest man. Warner announced last year that it would spin off its struggling TV business, and analysts suggest Paramount may be moving now to head off a bidding war for its valuable studios and streaming assets. And with the news that I reported on Thursday, where they want to put Barry Weiss, who's sponsored by Peter Thiel's team, as editor-in-chief or co-president of CBS, all of this sort of lines up. Again, be judgmental when you consume news. Just please pay attention. Now, as to South Korean workers, there was this thing that I reported on Thursday, that since the foreign minister of South Korea came to Washington, D.C., they said that the people can stay and file for new types of visas. But then Seoul, Friday, reported that over 300 South Korean workers detained in Georgia last week have returned home on a chartered flight, ending a tense diplomatic standoff between Seoul and Washington. The workers were rounded up during ICE raid in Hyundai LG Energy Solution plant in southeast Georgia. Many were reportedly chained and held for days, sparking outrage in South Korea. South Korean foreign minister traveled urgently to D.C. The episode triggered public fury, of course, in South Korea, with critics calling it a humiliating blow from a longtime ally. The incident has raised new uncertainty over future South Korean investment in the U.S. a partnership that has been central to recent clean energy and EV battery supply chain initiatives. And again, we're losing on F-35s, we're losing on investment in everything else because we misbehave. I mean, can you judge the allies? Here's some quick global news. Putin's longevity push, that's interesting. Russia has increased funding for life extension projects by 8-fold in the past 5 years. This was reported by Novaya Gazeta Europe. U.S. air power in Caribbean. So Pentagon has deployed significant air assets in the Caribbean 1 week after striking Venezuelan cartel boat. By the way, Venezuela said these were refugees. U.S. said no, this was big threat for United States, claimed that this little boat was going to Florida. Meanwhile, in order to go to Florida, the boat would need to carry as much fuel as its own weight, but it had 11 people. Kind of just not really working out with the intention of portraying the boat as drug cartel, because why would they carry so many people on it and compromise the weight scenario? Or, well, UN Security Council also condemned recent strikes on Doha, but notably avoided naming Israel despite US support. Former Brazilian President Bolsonaro received 27 years in prison for plotting a coup. And this is something that Brazil succeeded in that US sort of never even attempted to pursue. As to Belarus, Minsk freed 52 political prisoners, including 14 foreigners, and in a US brokered deal lifting sanctions on Belavia. Belavia is the Belarus Avia, right? Their air company, right? And so the move now has created a loophole for Russian companies to acquire airplane parts. Now, speaking of loophole, Turkey has bought in 2019 the C-400 systems from Russia. Now, Russia demands them back. Turkey didn't issue official statement, but is rumored to agree to this deal. Certainly, of course, they're going to sell it back to Russia with some profit. But what it will do, this will allow for a trade chain between Russia and NATO member, although there are sanctions. And so this could be used as a loophole for Turkey to sell, maybe for US to sell through Turkey something to Russia, because the deal does exist. So it can be extended to more than C-400. So we'll keep an eye on this. US allies now are frustrated after Trump's trade decisions. Both South Korea, as I mentioned, and now Japan are questioning nearly $1 trillion in US investments they pledged in return for tariff relief. Now, leaders of Pacific Island nations expressed disappointment over U.S. failure to deliver on climate promises as sea levels continue to rise. And to put the cherry on top of this shit cake, millions of dollars worth of contraceptives purchased by USAID for low-income countries have been destroyed on Trump administration's orders. So now let's talk a bit about Netanyahu. So he signed off on plans to expand the so-called E1 settlement project, which cuts across the West Bank. Netanyahu declared, quote, "There will be no Palestinian state," end quote. Israel has previously held back on E1 due to international backlash. Meanwhile, Germany is now supporting the France-led push for two-state solution. And this is something very good. I forgot to point out. Germany voted in favor of two-state solution and recognizing Palestine as a state. This is a first, ladies and gentlemen. Now, EU Court, General Court of European... the General Court of the European Court of Justice, ruled the natural gas and nuclear projects can be classified as green investments. The decision rejects Austria's lawsuit, which challenged the EU's taxonomy. And here's what they say, that critics note, natural gas emits greenhouse gases. Nuclear energy requires uranium mining and processing, but the EU remains committed to becoming climate neutral by 2050. So I guess by any means. I told you about Venezuela rejecting U.S. strike claims about the boat. Okay, so now top EU trade officials arrived in India for late-stage negotiations on a new trade deal. So this is now EU with India. The talks coincide with U.S. pressure on allies. Washington is expected to urge G7 nations to raise tariffs on India and China, which Trump did with his tweet. In response to their economic ties with Russia. This was then reported by Financial Times, but now we saw it in Trump's tweet. Now, remember where, of course, U.S. was struck the Iranian nuclear sites, declared a big win, said that everything has been eliminated, and then the nuclear inspectors, UN nuclear inspectors, wanted to go and check it out. And Iran said, we're not dealing with you. And then after talks, they said, okay, we're going to deal with you. Okay, we have results. Iran's foreign minister said hundreds of kilograms of fissile material remain buried beneath sites bombed in June by U.S. and Israel. UN nuclear inspectors are currently assessing access. International sanctions on Iran are set to resume at the end of the month if concerns about its nuclear program are not addressed. So essentially, the result is that the inspectors are now being let in. They are assessing whatever there is, but the Iran's foreign minister says that they do have hundreds of kilograms of the materials still present and buried. Now, we're going to see if inspectors will agree with that. So, I also have some things that I didn't show yet. I want to see what that is. Please forgive me if it's... Oh, yeah. So, Trump is going to London. And he's not going to jump on a tour bus. He's going to, of course, visit not just Prime Minister Starmer, he's going to visit the King and Queen of England. Now, he's going to, of course, meet with Charles. This is set for September 17 and 18. So Wednesday, Friday of the upcoming 17, 18. Wednesday, Thursday. Yes, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, got there. So UK turns to King Charles and royals to smooth Trump, right? And so the details are Trump will visit Britain. September 17 to 19. So, Wednesday to Friday. Yes. King Charles is preparing a parade and, the whole banquet with him. So the British royal family is organizing a second state visit for Donald Trump with a carriage parade, air show, and a salute. The program includes a state dinner, essentially, and a meeting with Prince William and Duchess Kate. London is counting on using the monarchy's soft power to influence Trump's stance on Ukraine war and trade tariffs. Prediction, it won't work. I agree with this prediction because this will just boost his ego and not push him to do anything. I mean, drones over Poland and Romania repeatedly don't push him. You think the dinner will? No. I don't think so. It just makes Melania Trump fly with him more. I have some clips here from Fox and Friends. Let's explore what those are because I didn't title them. But it's another crazy stuff. It's the segment of crazy stuff. Let's listen.
So I solved, as you know, 7 wars. 7. I did so many, including Pakistan and India, but big ones. Some were unsolvable. Congo and Rwanda. I solved it. It was going on for 31 years. Millions of people killed. I solved wars that was unsolvable. Azerbaijan and Albania. It was going on for many, many years. I had the prime minister.
Azerbaijan and Albania. So Azerbaijan was fighting Albania for 22 years, flying what? Rockets over Turkey and Greece and Bulgaria and North Macedonia, knocking all of them out for 22 years. But thankfully, President Trump came into power and finally ceased this war. So Greece and Cyprus and Lebanon and Turkey, Bulgaria, North Macedonia, and Armenia can breathe. Obviously, he's confusing Albania with Armenia. So Azerbaijan and Armenia were fighting, but he did not solve anything. It's another lie, another day, another made-up story. Here's another clip from Fox and Friends. Let's explore.
They have given billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right.
Just kill him. The white guy sits on the couch in the middle of New York City and comments on a black guy's comment. Kill him. You know, if you're this backwards and you think that unaliving people because they're homeless is a good idea, and you think that some executive order or some stuff, if they do this cruelty to people, will mention people being homeless, then you live in some utopia world. If they would push for this, and no, I don't think this is a distraction. I don't think this is accidental. I do fully think, given the media attention that this clip received, that this was a planted seed for discussion to see how people will react to it. How fast will people swallow this information? And if there is an executive order that will allow for this cruelty and murder, really, with no reason for it, just because somebody's homeless, if there is an executive order, it will just allow to unalive people for no reason. It will not mention homeless. It will not mention anything. And this will be a green light to murder anybody, not just deport. Now we're talking about this. Talking about crazy, we're going to stay in New York. Andrew Cuomo appeared yesterday at New York Fashion Week showcasing something. I honestly was expecting to see watches. Here's why.
This work was designed by Sentry member Gina Newman from Dolls and Barnes Bespoke. She's great and makes happen and does custom lining, custom suits.
I judge myself for the times that we had COVID and we were watching him every day, eager to learn how we're going to survive. I judge myself for that. Obviously, you have your opinion about Cuomo. I have my opinion about Cuomo. If you think this is glorious and fantastic, I applaud you. Listen, I'm not here to judge. I was expecting watches, and that would be on brand. No, but nothing will beat Moscow crazy. So, to paint the picture, middle of Moscow, very famous circus. And a mother, as she put in Russian on top of the screen, hence I'm translating, she says, I'm taking my kid for the first time to see a circus thing in the middle of Moscow.
Вы видели? Это мой мустанг, если что, синий.
Tanks in circus. There was also this clip, but it's all only in Russian, so I didn't share it. There was this young boy. He won some type of competition how to put Kalashnikov together, and he's maybe 10. And the reporters ask him, how did you learn to do it so fast? He goes, my daddy, he's in this SVO, this special operation in Ukraine. He told me that, and I was so lazy. And then he said, just imagine you killing Ukrainians. And then that's where it clicked for me, and I became very fast. And then some people like Yulia Navalny, the widow of Navalny, is advocating against sanctioned package number 19 by European Union that is rumored to ban visas to European Union for Russian people. And she says, no, this is Putin's war. Russian people have nothing to do with this. Russian people are just the victims here. No, honey. People pay money for this circus here, literally for the circus. And kids are winning competitions and building Kalashnikovs and imagine how to kill Ukrainians. So take several goddamn seats. And if you didn't understand how that regime works, even though everything and all the horror you went through, you with your family, losing your husband to the regime, then I don't know how to explain it to you. Do we have another clip? No, I think we're good with clips. Now, in history on the 12th, I think you read it in the newsletter. I wanted again talk about curating culture. So before I show you a happy clip and a funny clip, curating culture is the new series. So tomorrow we're going to have an episode about historic Shabazz Center in New York, where Malcolm X was assassinated and where his and Dr. Betty Shabazz legacy lives on today. We do this in partnership with Columbia University's Center for Study of Social Difference. And there we'll explore the building's history, cultural significance, and the ongoing work to preserve and share the story with new generations, featuring conversations with Nadia Christidi of Columbia University. So that will be tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. I release it. It will be short, about 20 minutes max, but it will be impactful. And then stay tuned for part 2 from Shabazz Center, but I will announce it when I can. And if you haven't watched it yet, please watch the first episode of Curating Culture, which where we explored in New York City's Hidden Museum of Peace, which is Nicholas Rerich's legacy. All right. And so here is a fun clip. Maybe, you know, listen, this is the state of emotions, or I don't know, state of affairs that I really wish you to incorporate this weekend. You know, stop giving and start having a bit of joy. Take a look at this. That's certainly Europe. So if you want to do the silliest thing this weekend just to bring some happiness into your life, do it. Listen, we live once. It's crazy times. There's so much anxiety. Don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt anybody else. But please enjoy or bring some joy into your life in whatever, fashion that is. Keep it healthy, though. And everything in moderation, but please, get some joy too. I know the news are horrible. Also, it's the weekend, but we still get drones over Poland and Romania, and there's so many people that are suffering. But if you are able to have some joy today, tomorrow, and whatnot, please do so. As always, keep your head on a swivel. Don't fall for okie dokes. Don't fall for propaganda stuff. Read it, think before sharing. Okay? And I think I'm already annoying with mentioning this. Tony says, hi, Tony. Thank you for a reminder of wonderful parts of humanity as we live through these times. Yes. And tomorrow we have Sunday edition. And there we're going to have a lot of such clips and discussion about being joyful, right, in the darkest times. So if you're not subscribed, honestnetwork.com, that's where you get your Sunday edition letter. And then on Substack, it's all political stuff. Okay. So thank you so much for being here. Mike says, what the actual fuck? This was about Como, I think, right? And Mamdani is going to eat him alive, said Jeff. Yes, with hot sauce. I do. I mean, if he hasn't yet on social media, he probably should, because that clip is worth everything. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending this Saturday afternoon or evening with me. I appreciate you. This was, again, because yesterday we skipped it. So not our usual time or day to meet. Please have a joyful weekend, peaceful weekend. Again, bring some joy into your life, even though we live in the darkest times. And don't judge others, but really try to stay true to yourself. Okay? As one of the former presidents said, decency, decency, decency. Yes? Okay. Thank you for being here. See you Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern.